and the LCK champions, Longzhu Gaming. I'm Daniel Dracos, joined by Chris Papa Smithy Smith and Martin DeFicio Longo. Welcome, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to cast alongside you.
It's fun to be here. Another day of League of Legends. The Korean teams get going now, and it's going to be a really interesting couple of games.
But you're right now on a 3-game winning streak.
That's true. It's true.
Trying to bring it back, but of course, let's check in with our players on the side of Fnatic. It's going to be Soaz in the top lane, Broxa in the jungle, Caps in the mid lane, Reckless on bot, and Jesus on support alongside their coach, Dylan Falco.
Today on the red side, we have the LCK champions from Longzhu with Khan up in the top lane, Cuz in the jungle, BDD in the mid lane, and of course, Prey and Gorilla down in the bottom lane. And I really want to talk about Reckless in that little intro clip saying, you know what, if I can play against Prey, if I can beat Prey, I can actually prove I am one of the best AD carries. And it's quite a challenge for him, and obviously you have to remember there are 2 members in that lane. You also got to take down Gorilla at the same time.
And it's fun because it's callback to what? Worlds 2 years ago, 2015, of course. We saw Reckless face Prey and Gorilla. Different org then, it was the Rocks Tigers. Could not win a game on the day. We rated Prey the 2nd best player coming into Worlds. And Reckless, we'll see how we have to check in with him because, of course, he played so well up until that final decision last time out. So fun to check in.
But of course, it's not just about Reckless today, it's about all of Fnatic. We have to consider how much this win can mean for the team because right now they are down and out, already lost their first 2 games. And then, of course, when you highlight the most recent one, Reckless being a large factor and why that game against Immortals ultimately turned against them.
Right, that was kind of the tough thing here for Fnatic because Reckless was doing so well for the entire game, and then he makes the one play that ends up losing everything for the team. And the fact that down 0-2, well, it is obviously a very tough situation, especially because they were so close to actually picking up that win against Immortals. Longzhu, on the other hand, I feel like they're just playing super, super well.
And of course, they had that very interesting game last time out against the GIGABYTE Marines that degenerated very fast. So if you remember, the first game way back on the first day was a bit shorter. And it was also Immortals doing well in the early game. So fun to check in on them again.
And of course, Fnatic learning a little bit from the last couple games. Longzhu's been playing BDD, not going to get a chance to play the Talia, Jarvan, and Kalista, much more standard bans.
Yeah, Khan been playing the Jarvan as well up in the top lane, getting removed. So Fnatic are targeting some of the champions we've seen from Longzhu already here at Worlds.
First time we're seeing Longzhu on the red side, we should note. They were able to first pick Jarvan both games so far at Worlds. Speaking of both games, Fnatic have had that really high priority on Ryze. I wonder if they would even first pick it, given that it really allows Caps to roam and side lane as the game goes on.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big one. But also, Galio is open in this draft here. We know Longzhu wants to play that champion as well. And so I've been reading Reddit lately. They're highlighted one of the dog champions he could actually beat Longzhu with.
The literal dog champion.
The actual dog champion.
Instead, though, it's going to be Reckless getting his hands on the Tristana, one of the premier hyper carries, one of the only ones left with Kog'Maw and Xayah taken off the board.
Yeah, a lot of AD carries removed. Now, Varus is a fine matchup against this Tristana, or you can also run the Twitch, which we have seen quite a few times. And Prey's not exactly new to this champion, in case he looks at it.
You're not new to the Janna, not a common pick these days for him, but in meta's gone past on Najin Shield at Worlds in 2014. He was one of those big Janna players next to someone like Zero. Was on Royal Club at the time, so they will lock it in. I'm intrigued to see what the AD carry choice is. If it's just the normal Varus, this is definitely a cornerstone of the champion pool. In spring season, you either saw Prey on Astral Varus. It gives them initiation from bot lane, and Prey is famous for his arrows. Chain of Corruption, it's right up there, it's an initiator.
And of course, this is the new standard, and a lot of those power picks are taken away. Varus seems to be the go-to carry, but it does give Fnatic the opportunity to pick up a jungler, round out the rest of their first pick.
And also note that they didn't look to Twitch. They did not want to draft the Twitch Janna on red side and have a losing bot lane. So they went for Varus for power. A lot of power on blue side as well.
Look what Fnatic are doing here with the Rakan. They're not taking Lulu and just matching the shield with the Janna. They want engage. When Fnatic are doing really well, Justice is on an engaged champion. And now they can actually also start targeting the bottom lane if they want to start ganking it in the game.
Both teams matching each other as we complete the first rotation. Junglers and bot lanes have to find out what the solo lane picks are going to be and what's going to be taken away, more importantly, as Gnar is the first ban.
And again, we have 4 members of Longzhu we focus on, and one that we pass over usually. That's the rookie Cuz, who's looking in his first season to become a world champion. The one initiation champion he's actually shown really good performance on has been the Gragas. His casks have been on point. You haven't had to really question his engage on this particular jungler. So it may not be the Kha'Zix, it may not be aggressive, but it's a good pick for Cuz.
I want to highlight that Galio is still available. Fnatic plays it in the top lane. Obviously, Longzhu plays it in the mid lane. Fnatic can still ban it away here if they want to, or if they leave it open. We have to see if BDD wants to play it. Because normally when he gets a champion like Galio, oh, you can go to top lane and you can even assist bottom lane if needed.
Galio, Cho'Gath, they're big picks that certainly could be considered first pick on the red side for a blind pick. BDD 10 games played, only 5 deaths on frontline Galio. 88 players being reinvigorated with him, and you see a Trundle ban, so it seems like Soaz happy to play a tank.
Yeah, exactly. That could signal a Cho'Gath for Soaz in the top lane.
Maokai, I guess, as well.
Maokai is another one, just in case it is not locked in here by Khan up in the top lane.
Remember that Jace is banned, so Jace, Trundle, like you say, together, says tanks in the top
Galio. Oh.
Is going to make it through. Could be a point of concern for Fnatic. Fnatic may have loved to get their hands on that one. We've seen Jesus alongside a Galio, especially with Rakan, be such a threat.
And if this is another team, you look on the red side and you say, well, surely it's Galio top because they're low damage. You don't really see a secondary damage dealer if it ends up being a tank top lane. But Longzhu have tried alongside KT Rolster to play these very early to mid game comps. Do they work in the Ardent meta? That's a different question, because if the game goes long, low damage is always a concern.
Yeah, and if they want more magic damage, which I don't necessarily think they have to go for, because they got Gragas Galio, then Rumble is available in this draft. Otherwise, I still think you can go for a physical damage dealer in the top lane.
We could see this actually locked in here. It's a dog champ for sure, but there was an essay.
Oh.
It's locked in. Okay, we see this played once in the LCK promotion tournament by Ever 8 winners. They ran Nasus into Maokai. You can free farm in the lane. There's the potential for turret dives, and it was this exact setup. Galio mid lane and Nasus top lane.
Soaz felt so safe in blind picking a tank because they banned the Jace, they banned the Trundle, even removed the Jarvan. And then a Nasus shows up, that's his champion.
Oh, God, the literal dog champ against Soaz. He's fighting his own demons right in front of us.
You could argue he brought this on himself. He talked about it, he called it out, and Khan has obliged. Seeing this pick at Worlds is so exciting. Another unique pick, another unique champion for Worlds 2017.
And I feel like Longzhu obliging us. After the GIGABYTE Marines wanted to play a standard game, they're saying, hey, we'll be the ones that are going to mix it up a little bit. But now we have such a unique composition assembled on the side of Longzhu. What is this Nasus doing? Is this just the standard farm it up solo queue Nasus? What does this guy bring to the table?
I mean, it will in the early game be a lot about just farming, but in the late game, he's such an absolute monster. Also now, with the reduced cooldown on his Q during his ulti, it is so hard to deal with him if you get that far into the game. So the fact that Fnatic are running a lot of engage simply means that if they can't force enough fights before we go to late game, they can use that effectively.
All right, here we are, Fnatic versus Longzhu. The Nasus pick mixing everything up. An exciting moment here for the team. Of course, if you haven't already, folks, there is now a chance you can head over to the store. If you want to participate in Worlds 2017, check out the Championship Ash skin. 25% of the proceeds from Championship Ash and Ward skins are being added to the prize pool, with another 25% being donated to charity. And of course, there's the Chroma as well. We've only seen it once. I thought maybe Prey would play the Ash this game, but instead he's on the Varus, and we're seeing already some attention on the top side.
Talked a lot about Khan, who is caught up here, but probably not going to be enough damage to take him down.
A lot of early poke. Clearly Fnatic are aware that this Nasus could be a problem if they let it go unscathed through the early game.
They know he's going to be recalling, so they could get deep vision if they want, and certainly the Saplings will do that. Longzhu backing away from their top side, but I wanted to mention Khan, because I think last year we came in, high expectations on Smet. People were waiting, when are we going to see the carries? When are we going to see something different? Smet played Trundle, Smet played Standard. We see 2 games of Jarvan on the side of Longzhu. This time the Nasus available, but I have to hold the point.
Number 1. Dark Sphere's gonna check. Multiple members there. That's the body slam needed to the immediate flash out. Caps gonna be down the summoner spell alongside Broxa.
Exactly, 2 members. I think Fnatic a little bit baited because no one seemed to take damage from that Q from Caps. Everyone stepped out from Longzhu and then right back in.
I actually think it's a pretty poor level 1 decision, because if you consider Fnatic knew that Longzhu had vacated their top side, it's safer to invade a part of the jungle you know the enemy is not on, and re-invading bot side is a risk that was unnecessary, I would say, for Fnatic. They could have taken the long route to bot lane and ignored it. Instead, they get caught.
To make it even worse here, Caps could not go back to base. No TP on him, so he's down a lot of HP early on. Will have to use both his potions as well to just get full HP in this lane. And we know that BDD just here to farm in the early game and then get that level 6 on Galio. And suddenly, if you want to play this game where you're trying to shut down the Nasus, Galio can join in and help.
Difficult place as well with both flashes burned. It's going to be so much more difficult. Caps and Brox are so frequently the members we talk about on the side of Fnatic. Now both flashless, both significantly less able to be proactive here in the early game.
Forever 8 winners, when they did play Nasus Galio versus Maokai, stacked the CDR, it was Trinity Force early, just a carry, more of the carry build you see in solo queue, and turret dives were real. Galio is insurance on the top and on the bot, which is big for Longzhu.
But now, of course, one thing we have to highlight is when you look at this matchup, most recently against IMT for Longzhu, their bot lane did suffer. Their bot lane did fall behind, and we have to wonder, is this an avenue for Fnatic to exploit?
I mean, we know Fnatic wants to get the bot lane ahead. We saw when Fnatic played against Immortals, they hard camped the lane. It worked, as you said just before, in the first day of Worlds, where Gorilla died multiple times in lane. The same thing probably needs to happen for Fnatic to succeed early on. You don't want to try and feed your own Maokai. You need to get Reckless going on this Tristana. That's why they draft for Khan, to also have some CC setup.
But the window is small, because the moment that Galio gets ultimate, the headaches start to grow. Sure, it is not Alistair to repel those early ganks, but Janna can do a bit of peeling, even at level 2. Once Galio gets to level 6, he will also have disengage. So it's not necessarily a hard timer, but to try to recreate with this comp, you need to get going soon.
Yeah, and you also kind of want that level 6 on Broxah. Meanwhile, Gorilla and Prey, probably knowing the game plan from Fnatic is play around bot side with the draft, with how Fnatic has played in the past. And their job is just to stay alive and don't actually try anything risky. And it's one thing these guys are very known for, at least avoiding, you know, the ganks.
And you think back to the Varus over the Twitch that was available. If you draft Varus, he can always do something. If he needs to push, put more points into Q. Hell, E is even decent in that situation as well. He's the much stronger laner, and if you're looking to leave someone on an island, Twitch with Relic Shield, that's risky. A Varus, he's certainly someone that can make the best, even if the game is not going to be about bot side early for Longzhu Gaming.
Terrifying Chambers to try to dive out, try to pressure, especially once he hits that level 6 mark as well. So just continuing to build on to that point we made earlier about this being a very small window for Fnatic to exploit. If they want to find this lead in the early game, it has to be quite early. But for now, they may have the vision on the bottom side, but not a whole lot else. Even the pressure is starting to balance out as the wave bounces against the bot lane tower.
There's another thing I want to mention about Nasus, but I'm just waiting to see if Cuz is doing anything. No, he's stepping away. There was a buff that happened to Nasus quite some patches ago where his E also started reducing 15% armor when he used it on targets. And if you look at Longzhu's composition, the majority of the damage is going to be physical coming in, obviously because of Nasus himself being able to smack around with the Q, and reducing that armor here on some of these big tanks on Fnatic is actually very effective and very important in the late game.
Yeah, the Spirit Fire used to be flat armor and MR. Now it being percentage means it scales into the late game, and we wondered who the second threat would be, expecting Galio mid. The Nasus infinite scaling certainly does fit the bill, even though his hideability is always going to be something to keep a track of.
It's just a little nerve-wracking. So often we see teams put themselves in a position where they're playing against a clock.
We might get the first gank in that bot lane here. Praying Gorilla are pushed pretty far up, but playing it safe right there, reading the situation correctly.
The 2 question mark pings around the bot side was enough early information, I assume, from BDD to see him pass through mid lane to stave off that particular start. Brox is spotted.
BDD knows what's up. He's going to back right out. Taking it forward here. Moving on as Broxa goes back to the top side of the map. He is going to walk face first into Cuz, because already getting what he wants out of the exchange.
Watching Soaz come down. Nasus so far just free farm. First item purchase already. 10% CDR on the Sheens. He's happy there. As
Soaz.
Level 4.
Not exactly where we wanted to be. Luckily for him, it is just the Maokai. All the burst damage used up. Soaz not looking to commit the ultimate. Knows it might be more important for this laning phase. A lot of things to consider here. But Cat Champ versus Dog Champ, top side of the lane. Not the most exciting matchup. Once again, waiting for the infinite scaling, and this is the thing that scares me. If you're playing against Longzhu, and their game plan is to sit here and wait, all of the pressure is on Fnatic to do something, because eventually, as you mentioned earlier, Nasus is going to be unstoppable.
Even that phrase you utter is surreal to someone who cast the LCK, because Longzhu were on the faster ebb of gameplay. They were not SKT, they were not Samsung, they did not focus on the outscale. They focused on their early to mid-game shot calling, their understanding of win conditions, which largely were precipitated around getting big leads. And usually you see the first 4 champions, not including the Nasus, and you think that's what this draft is about. They flip it on its head. They're playing a different type of meta at Worlds, but they are going to be comfortable as the game goes on.
Kana already sitting on about 100 stacks in the early game. He's not really been under any pressure. We'll just keep farming up in that top lane.
Now, though, as we move a little bit further into the game, level 7 for Caps, he doesn't have pressure here. Not a whole lot of kill threat onto the Galio without some help. Maybe he can find the opportunity to roam. However, Flash is now back up. Much easier for him to play out the rest of this laning phase. Because taking his time, both junglers approaching level 6, this could be the catalyst, the point for playmaking.
It's just so important that Cos is always moving in, placing a few deep wards, so he's finding procs, so he's able to see if Caps is roaming as well. And again, it just means Prey and Gorilla are going to be so safe in that bot lane. You can see how Fnatic are always hovering around the bot lane, but they simply cannot get down there unspotted.
That means extra time, that means Nasus getting access to minions. He's ahead in CS compared to the Maokai. Only good things for Longzhu. The pace of the game is slowed. We already see a couple of early trades onto Soa. It's not going to be a Galio coming in this time, but soon that game plan may be enacted.
And of course, Sheen, a nice early item purchase, lifesteal from Nasus as well. Means it's pretty easy for him to sustain up in this lane. May not have the kill threat, but Cousin Prey could. That's the level 6. Chain's not going to connect. Rare misstep from Prey on that one.
Warning shot. Telling Jesse what's going to happen next time he's overextending in the bottom lane.
And now, Longzhu just going to take advantage of any pressure they got on the bottom side, but it's immediately removed with the ultimate gone. It's so much easier for Rekkles and Jesus to play further up. No fear of a counter engage.
A sedate game with Longzhu involved. Not what I expected here, and I know when I was saying for the hopes for this game pre-tournament, I wanted to see late game fights between Rekkles and Prey, 2 of those top tier mechanical AD carries. And at this pace, we may very well get
Definitely the case. Right now, it feels like Prey has kick-started himself with the option to go for a more, gold-efficient starting item, at least in terms of gold production.
I'm just afraid that when we're setting up for the big late game 80 carry fights, Khan just kind of takes over on his like 5 million stacks Nasus, one-shotting Rekkles or Caps in one of these fights, because once again, it's a very slow game in favor of Longzhu. BDD's not been able to use his ulti because why? He's just saving it. He literally just wants to be defensive at the moment, and it's all he needs to do.
At this point, we have to start asking some of the big questions, which is, for example, how many stacks have you guys seen Nasus hit in the game? Because we could get to some big numbers here. We're at 160
Are we
already.
talking about solo queue or competitive? Because you mentioned an Ever 8 game, there was a Dignitas game for Someday. There's not a whole lot of sample size to go on here.
I'm going with either.
I mean, I have quite a famous Nasus myself when I'm playing.
Oh, really?
I'm only last hitting with E, however, because I don't want to get too strong in the game.
See, it's the deliberate training weights. You got to hold yourself back. Well, even if Khan decides to play that way, luckily for Longzhu, he still has the Wither, which I feel like is such an undervalued tool against one reliable late game damage threat.
I mean, just consider the situation. You get withered, you're against Gragas, Galio, and also the Varus. Do you use some Cruel Scimitar on it? Because that's what's going to be the reality. Choosing your CC. You might have to see a Rakan go very early Mikhail's purely to actually increase his damage.
But still, not a lot of catalysts for action. We thought the bot lane might be posed for it. Of course, Prey does have the tools to force engages. Once again, it's just not in the Longzhu playbook right now to force anything aggressive because it's just not needed.
And with that Scimitar, that might happen in the late game. Problem is obviously with Khan getting some cooldown reduction, the fact that his own cooldown on this W is so short, it's going to be like, what, 10 seconds?
Maybe less.
Maybe even less. So when Rekkles will have that small window where he uses his QSS to get some damage up, he needs to burn through tanks. It is super difficult unless Fnatic, and it's why we keep highlighting getting bot lane ahead. But right now, Prey is sitting with the same CS as Rekkles. No tower's even taken some real damage just yet. And it's just meaning we're kind of waiting for the big moment where Fnatic pulls the trigger.
Guys, we waited for day 4. We want what is the
Might
counter?
be now.
Sensor. Yep, hold point.
Also going to go wide because flashing out. He's not a damage drops, but just tickling him. Bit of a fumble there from Broxa. Not going to be what Fnatic wanted. And now Caps out of mana. BDD is going to have lane priority.
Push up, BDD. Happy to take these good trades. Force Caps behind. Extend the game further every time You get that click over to Nasus, see the number increasing. The timer only gets more severe.
Khan just perpetually comfortable in this lane. Luckily for Fnatic, they do have lane pressure. Soaz is able to push the Nasus out, but for how much longer? How much longer until the Nasus actually has a kill threat on the Maokai, especially with the Storm Raiders? It's going to be an easy chase in.
So now that Fnatic are unable to stop the Nasus, they can't really gank bot. Maybe they should switch up around the focus. I like what Caps is doing now in trying to go up and see if he can kill Khan. Other thing you can do is you can try and lane swap with your dual lane, set him top. Let's see what happens here.
See, ultimate's going to come out. Not a lot of mana in the pool for Khan. Is still alive. Caps playing with fire here. The second he hits him, he's going to draw that tower aggro. So has not a lot of health. Just going to clear the wave. TP is going to be used as Longzhu take the bottom tower. Solid play from Longzhu, and Fnatic not getting anything.
Yeah, I think Fnatic early on in this game here should have, when they had a push in the bot lane, recalled, swapped to top lane, and try and just rush down that turret here. Open up this map a little bit so Khan is not feeling so safe.
But so much happened in an instant there for Longzhu. It was as the rest of Fnatic were backing that play happened. They took bot lane turret. We cancel his teleport in the blink of an eye. Nasus lives, they get bot lane turret. They're going to take a Drake as well, and nothing happens to the Nasus. He teleports back in with a completed Trinity Force.
And it's difficult right now to be Fnatic because making that lane swap call is not easy. You feel like you're getting pushed in the bot lane, and if you don't get a good swap and get actually the tempo advantage where you take down the first tower first, it doesn't feel great for most teams. So it's not an easy situation to be in, and they are constantly looking for that potential gank, but the good vision control just stops them.
And it's not an easy situation for any team, but it's especially concerning for Fnatic because when you look at their most recent game, we know what happens when they fall in a deficit. And we know the struggles they can have when they're not confidently ahead. You can see the difference between how these teams stacked up against Immortals. Longzhu, clean win coming out once they got that lead. Fnatic, a much shakier road.
We'll get to see now, though, Longzhu's dual lane going towards that top side. So it is Longzhu initiating their own lane swap. Khan is going to get removed from the 1v1, at least for a moment. His Trinity Force is completed. Fnatic want to find a way to try and get down a tower.
I mean, at this point, putting Varus and Janna in a short lane, just like they have been the entire game in bot, is absolutely fine. You cannot slow down Nasus. That ship has already sailed 137 CS at 14 minutes, basically at pace with everyone else. So might as well start setting up the Varus to hit his mid-game spike. The on-hit build with the Sensor and the Rage Blade certainly more than underway, but Soaz is here looking for a lane game.
Yeah, the little trap he's setting up. Brox is gonna get spotted in the river going towards topside, so Longzhu will be aware that something is happening up here. Once again, Broxa, notice on the ward, there's another one coming up here.
Important to keep your eyes on Galio as well. For now, BDD is locked in the mid lane, clearing out the wave. It's not a long walk, though. This could be the setup Fnatic need, but it's a small window. They need to take advantage of it. A little bit more as the tornado comes out. It's going to pull the trigger. Looks like just the tower in their sights. Cannon Creep making it easy. Tristana still able to siege with the cast. Going to clear the way. Broxa not going to get locked up, but Jez as well. Reckless could be next. Has to rocket jump to safety. And Fnatic still not getting anything.
But again, it's because it's taking them so long to initiate this swap here in the game. Once they couldn't find the kills in bottom lane, they had to do it earlier to try and get down a tower, to try and speed up the tempo, because now they're just losing towers in the bottom lane.
Terrifying to watch too. Nasus over 300 stats at this point in the game. Only 15 minutes in. Khan is a farming machine. Something that you have to respect because this matchup no longer requires one side of it. Brox's season opportunity. Frey has been locked up. A nice monsoon going to stop it. No further aggression comes in. Fnatic once again denied.
Give a cookie over to Khan as well for that body slam onto Jez is denying his entrance into the fight. Khan and Soaz fighting down here, but everyone steps away.
How do you beat the tank meta? First answer from Europe, it was Trundle. The Nasus doing the same thing. He's been pushing and ignoring amount of damage. Making damage.
Jez is going to get out with his life, right? Taking a lot back to the tower and no mana left. Broxy doing what he can, but the blast cone just keeps Longzhu out and into safety. Fnatic are trying to get something. They're not getting anything in any one of these exchanges.
It's exactly the game plan from Longzhu. It must be so frustrating to be on Fnatic and at the last pick realize that the timer you are on is not what you expected. The Galio Nasus duo, only seen once in a game that not many watched, is working a treat. Wasn't quite able to take down the inhibitor turret bot lane. Has it low. Speaking of top lane standing gold, Fnatic have to keep giving away free objectives.
And it's just important to highlight that Khan himself is just farming. He's not actually like outplaying anyone or doing a whole lot. It's just the rest of Longzhu on the bottom side of the map, just like we've seen in the LCK multiple times, with defensive vision by playing smart or avoiding any potential plays from Fnatic. And that's kind of why the game was so slow early. And there was never really an easy opening to take. Most teams around the world will always make a mistake here and there and give you at least a chance to force a fight on them. Barely been possible in this game.
Difficult road for Fnatic. They need to find an opportunity to come back. You can see Soaz and Caps grouping up. Maybe they're hoping to find a pick. They've certainly got enough CC. But Ward will just catch him on the side before they begin. Cats come out for a little bit of lock, but the tower is low, but there's not a creep wave there. They have to commit to the dive. They wanted Cats is committing, but not the way that he wanted to. Jenner's trying to make his way out. Galio coming in as well. Cuz on the flood, but here comes Naxxes. There's the withered half held. My God, the siphoning strike reduced cooldown as well. Cuz retreating. Naxxes finding the first kill, the latest first blood thus far. Prey taking down Caps as well. Longzhu cutting through the net.
And the difference with this side lane champion into tanks, he actually provides burst damage in a fight. Every Q will proc siphoning strike, just like an early game jungle Ezreal. Nothing Fnatic can do. Rekkles half health and withered. One of the worst feelings ever. Give him Ardent Sensor, give him other items. After the wither comes through, he's not going to have the damage to do anything.
Such a good counter pick in this game here from Longzhu's side. They saw this draft from Fnatic, they saw the different tanks, they saw the Tristana, who's so focused on her auto-attacking, and then they have this Naxxes ready, who we know in the late game is just even better than in the past.
And we have to remember, we're introducing Khan to a lot of the viewers at home. This is the guy who wanted a counter pick to the Renekton that was dominating the early game and the early part of summer season. He locked in Mordekaiser straight up and took him into lane. This guy always has the mad scientist view of what takes down. He always wants lane priority. He's had no issues in the side lane, and we get to see him in a fight. Very nice chain of corruption, and also cast from Cuz.
Yeah, exactly. This Fragger performance from Cuz here is very, very good to just once again make it hard for Fnatic to start the fights. At this point though, as soon as they didn't actually get the first kill, all these different tanks are just gonna run you down.
And Rekkles talked so much about his matchup versus Prey, what it would mean for him to beat Prey. But he doesn't get to fight Prey, he has to fight Khan, and Khan beats 80 carries. This is so solid for the Naxxes.
It beats some of the nice
tanks too! Oh, that's gotta hurt for Soaz. Another kill dropping for the Naxxes, but a fight is breaking out in the mid lane. Longzhu stalling out Fnatic once again.
Right now we're at 430 stacks for Khan on this Naxxes, so not even 20 minutes into the game, we're plus 400.
And just be clear, he can't enter lane. I mean, he I say Soaz cannot enter lane against the Maokai. Permanent wither, the CDR is mostly getting up there, at least 20% from the Trinity Force. Takes him down. Percentage shred on the siphoning strike. Fires everywhere on the map, and they also still have that Galio ult up. They haven't needed to use it much.
Backing off, Caps getting caught out. Even the tanks are gonna have enough damage to take down the Syndra. Wins the war, ticking. Prey actually gonna grab that one. Longzhu are just playing with their food. 7K gold lead, 20 minutes into the game. Nothing for Fnatic on the verge of getting perfect game.
And that's the really worrying thing to say. 3-0 to a perfect game, Soaz just ready to end.
Chain of Corruption landing for Prey. He may have missed one, but every other one has connected thus far. We can see the 1v1 replay in the picture-in-picture. Important to remember how we got here, because that is a Rift Herald in the middle of Fnatic's base at 20 minutes. Khan can cut through these towers in an instant. Fnatic are out of options. They got one last chance, one opportunity to try to seize a fight, but there is nothing in their wheelhouse. There is nothing in the toolkit. All they see is Naxxes in front of them. This game is the story of Khan farming it up and bringing it home.
And we get to see a dancing Rift Herald in professional play. It only dances if it takes down the Nexus, and bringing in the Naxxes was the masterstroke, because the game was played around, and all Fnatic could do is watch Longzhu in awe.
We talked about how good Longzhu were, how dominant they could be. The shortest game of Worlds thus far, the dancing Rift Herald, encapsulating everything that was this game, because to me it felt like Fnatic didn't even get to play League of Legends. Longzhu were just one step ahead at every turn.
Exactly, like they tried to grab the Rakan to have some sort of engage in the bottom lane, but Cuz always went in, deep boarded the enemy jungle. Prey and Gorilla played safe, and Meanwhile, Khan was just farming in the top lane.
And the Nasus mains out there are nodding their head at picks and bans, because guess what? The Janna was taken early, very early, by Longzhu, have not prioritized it, and Janna shuts down Nasus in every single way. Melee damage champions cannot team fight against a Janna. There was no Janna for them to claim.
And also the Galio pick, it wasn't banned away by Fnatic. A big surprise to me, at least, they didn't remove it, because once again, it's a champion that prevents you from going aggressive in side lanes, because you can always join with the ulti. And there were too many factors for Fnatic to kind of get past. That simply meant they couldn't actually play so aggressive as they wanted to.
And also note, BDD did not die. Another week, another deathless performance for BDD.
Jack was finally wrong in his prediction. There we go.
He tried. Something came true.
BDD.
Got him. And I think it just has to be so frustrating if you're on the side of Fnatic to come in to lose this hard in the early weeks when a lot of people expected you to come up big to a certain degree. And now you go into your matchup against Longzhu. You know it's a challenge. You play against a Galio in the mid lane. Frustrating. You play against a Varus on the bottom side who just avoids the all-ins. Must be such a frustrating game to end the first week on.
Especially because we have to think back to that Immortals game for Fnatic. Like, they are so close to winning it, then the big play at the end of the game backfires completely. They lose it, and that's why you're now looking at Longzhu, and you're saying, wow, Fnatic actually needs to beat Longzhu at least once if they want to make it out of this group, and it seems almost impossible.
Definitely a rough path for Fnatic thus far, but let's hear more on that game and send it over to the analyst desk.
Whew! Thank you very much, Stracos. Fast.